On Christmas night, the mountains of eastern Afghanistan looked dead. Snow buried everything. Roads, ruined houses, forgotten graves. The wind howled through broken stone like a wounded animal, carrying the smell of ice and gun oil. The sky was heavy, clouded, moonless. No stars, no worms, only white silence and the distant echo of war. Sergeant Elena Rook Hale lay motionless on a frozen ridgeline, her body pressed flat against the earth. Frost clung to her eyelashes. Her breath came slow, measured, barely visible. The cold had worked its way through her ghillie suit, through muscle and bone, settling deep in her chest like a second heart made of ice. She had been there for 6 hours. Below her, in the narrow valley, an enemy convoy crawled forward. 3 trucks, headlights off, engines growling low. Armed men moved like shadows beside them. Insurgents, well-trained, careful, the kind that killed fast and disappeared faster. Rook's eye stayed locked to the scope of her sniper rifle. She didn't blink. Christmas night. Somewhere back home, lights would be glowing. Families would be laughing. Children would be tearing paper and shouting with joy. Somewhere, a woman was probably waiting for a knock on the door that would never come. Somewhere, a name like hers was already carved into stone. But not yet. Her earpiece crackled softly. "Rook," whispered Lieutenant Mason, voice tight. "We have movement east side. Multiple heat signatures. You seeing this?" "I see them," Rook murmured. Her voice was calm, steady, almost gentle. "They're bait." A pause. "You sure?" "Yes." The convoy stopped. Men spread out too evenly, too deliberately. It wasn't panic. It wasn't fear. It was a trap unfolding with discipline. Rook adjusted her aim. Her finger rested lightly against the trigger. One shot, one breath, one decision. She exhaled. The first target dropped without a sound, a dark shape collapsing into the snow. The second never even realized what happened. The third turned and died mid-step. Chaos erupted. Gunfire tore through the valley. Shouts in Pashto echoed off the cliffs. Muzzle flashes flickered like dying stars. The SEAL team below moved instantly, professional, lethal, but Rook's heart sank. Too many. Fall back. Mason ordered. "We're pulling out." Rook scanned wider. Then she saw it. Heat signatures blooming on the ridgeline to the north. High ground. Enemy snipers. "They've got eyes on you," Rook said sharply. "North Ridge. 2, no, 3 shooters." "Copy." Move to extraction. The helicopter was already inbound, rotors thundering faintly through the storm. But the wind was worsening. Snow thickened. Visibility dropped. Rook fired again. 1 sniper fell. The second ducked. The third vanished behind rock. Then pain exploded through her side. A round punched through her armor, spinning her sideways. She gasped. The breath ripped from her lungs. Warmth spread beneath the cold, a terrifying contrast. She rolled instinctively, firing blind, forcing herself behind cover. "Rook!" Mason shouted. "Status. Hit," she said. Her voice shook once, then steadied. Still breathing. She checked herself fast. Blood. Too much blood. Below, the team was retreating under heavy fire. The helicopter roared closer, its lights cutting through the storm. Then everything went wrong. A rocket streaked out of the darkness. The helicopter lurched violently, smoke pouring from its side. It veered away, disappearing into the storm with a wounded scream of metal. "Extraction abort," came a call. "We're compromised." The valley became hell. Rook's vision blurred for a second. She blinked it away. This was the moment. The moment every operator trained for, but never wanted. Someone had to hold the line. "Lieutenant," Rook said quietly. "Pull them out south. Now." "Negative," Mason snapped. "We're not leaving you." "You don't have a choice," she replied. "If you stay, you all die." Silence. Gunfire thundered closer. Enemy fighters were climbing, surrounding. "I'll cover you," Rook continued. "You've got maybe 3 minutes before they overrun this ridge." Another pause. Longer this time. "Damn it, Rook," Mason whispered. She allowed herself a small smile, unseen in the storm. "Tell them I did my job." She cut the channel. Rook shifted position, ignoring the pain screaming through her body. She reset her rifle, hands numb, movements automatic. Years of training took over. Muscle memory, precision. She fired point 1, point 2, point 3. Enemies dropped, one after another, silhouettes collapsing into the snow. She moved constantly, changing angles, making them think there were more defenders than there were. Her magazine ran dry. She reloaded with shaking fingers. The cold was winning now. Her blood soaked into the ground, freezing fast. Her breaths came ragged, but she kept shooting. Down below, the SEAL team disappeared into the white, retreating through a narrow pass. They would live. That was enough. The enemy realized the truth too late. They rushed her position. Rook fired until her rifle clicked empty. She reached for her sidearm. Footsteps crunched closer. Shadows moved through the snow. She thought of her father, teaching her to shoot on a frozen range in Montana. Thought of her mother's laugh. Thought of the ocean, calm and endless. Christmas bells echoed in her memory. She raised the pistol, and then a deafening explosion tore through the mountain. The ground shook violently. Snow and rock thundered down in an avalanche of white fury. Enemy screams vanished beneath the roar. Rook was thrown backward, the world spinning, her vision going black. As consciousness faded, one thought lingered. Did they make it? Darkness swallowed her. Cold returned before pain. That was the first thing Sergeant Elena Rook Hale noticed when consciousness crept back. Not sound, not light. Cold, deep, biting, merciless. It wrapped around her like chains, pulling her downward, threatening to drag her back into darkness. Her eyelids fluttered. White. Endless white. For a moment, she thought she was dead. Thought this was some strange, silent afterlife where the world was frozen exactly the way it had been on Christmas night. Then she heard it. A cough. Human. Rough. Close. Rook tried to move and failed. Fire shot through her side, sharp enough to steal her breath. She groaned softly, the sound barely escaping her lips. Easy, a voice muttered. Don't move. Her vision focused slowly. A bearded man crouched beside her, wrapped in heavy winter gear not issued by the U.S. military. His rifle leaned against a rock. His eyes were sharp, wary, but not hostile. Who? Rook rasped. The man glanced over his shoulder, then back at her. Name's Kareem, he said quietly. Local militia, not Taliban. Her fingers twitched toward her pistol. Relax, Kareem said. If I wanted you dead, you'd be dead. That much was true. Fragments of memory slammed back into her. The ambush, the avalanche, the gunfire. Her team. SEALs, she whispered. They get out. Kareem nodded once. Helicopter came back later. Took them south. Relief flooded her so suddenly it hurt more than the wound. She had done it. She tried to sit up and screamed, the sound tearing out of her throat before she could stop it. Blood soaked the bandage wrapped crudely around her side. Kareem cursed under his breath. Bullet went through clean, but you lost a lot of blood. Avalanche buried everyone else. You were lucky. Lucky. The word tasted wrong. How long? She asked. 2 days, he replied. Storm was bad. Couldn't move you. 2 days. Christmas had come and gone. Rook closed her eyes, forcing herself to breathe through the pain. Training screamed at her to assess, plan, survive. Then distant gunfire cracked through the mountains. Kareem stiffened. They're searching. They know someone held them off. Rook's jaw tightened. She pushed herself upright inch by inch, ignoring the agony ripping through her body. I can still fight. Kareem stared at her like she was insane. You can barely stand. She met his gaze, ice-cold determination burning behind her eyes. I don't need to stand. They moved her before nightfall. Kareem helped her into a shallow cave hidden behind collapsed stone. He gave her water, some dried food, and extra ammunition. Then he hesitated. You saved many lives, he said quietly. If they catch you, they won't, Rook replied, because she wouldn't let them. Hours passed. Snow fell again, soft and relentless. Rook lay against the rock, rifle across her chest, breath shallow. Fever crept in, bringing hallucinations. She saw lights, heard laughter, felt warmth that wasn't there. Then footsteps. She snapped back to reality instantly. 5 at and 6 men. Enemy fighters moving carefully, rifles raised. They spread out, searching. Rook slowed her breathing. Point one shot. The lead man dropped. Shouts erupted. Gunfire exploded through the night. Rook fired again, rolling to the side as bullets shredded the stone where her head had been moments before. Pain blurred her vision, but she forced herself to stay focused. She fired with precision, each round chosen carefully. She wasn't fighting for survival anymore. She was buying time. Kareem joined the fight from above, picking off 2 more attackers. But more kept coming. Too many. Her rifle ran dry again. She switched to her pistol, firing until the slide locked back. Silence followed. Then footsteps, closer this time that a shadow filled the cave entrance and a man stepped inside, weapon raised, eyes wide with disbelief as he took her in, bloodied, shaking, still aiming an empty gun at his chest. Rook met his gaze without fear. She pulled the trigger. Click. The man laughed cruelly and raised his rifle. A shot rang out that he collapsed backward, dead before he hit the ground. Kareem stood behind him, smoking rifle barrel glowing faintly in the dark, but his relief was short-lived. Engines roared in the distance. Vehicles. Kareem cursed. "We can't hold them." Rook nodded weakly. She knew. This was the end of the road. "Listen," she said, her voice barely more than a breath. "There's a ridge west. Old radio relay station. If you make it there, U.S. patrols pass nearby." "And you?" Kareem asked. She smiled faintly. "I stay." "No," he said firmly. "You come." She shook her head. "I won't slow you down." "You're not disposable," he snapped. She looked at him, eyes steady. "Tonight I am." The engines grew louder. Kareem hesitated only a second. Then he grabbed her hand, squeezed it once, and disappeared into the storm. Rook dragged herself deeper into the cave, propping herself against the rock. She took out her last grenade, fingers trembling as she pulled the pin halfway. "Ready." Voices echoed outside. Flashlights swept across the snow. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. She thought of the SEALs who would live, the families who would get their Christmas back, the stories that would never tell the full truth of what happened on this mountain. She thought of her name, or the lack of it. Footsteps entered the cave. Rook lifted her head, grenade clutched tight. Then, Sergeant Hale, English, American. Her breath caught. "Rook," another voice shouted. "We got you." Figures rushed in. U.S. Army Rangers, faces shocked as they took in the scene. She laughed weakly, the sound breaking into a cough. "Took you long enough," she whispered. They stabilized her quickly, wrapping her in warmth, lifting her onto a stretcher. As they carried her out, she looked up at the sky. Stars had finally broken through the clouds. She survived the flight. Barely. Weeks later, she woke in a hospital thousands of miles away. Winter sunlight streamed through the window. Machines beeped softly to a man stood beside her bed. Lieutenant Mason. He looked older. Tired. His eyes were red. "You're hard to kill," he said quietly. She smiled faintly. "You left me." He shook his head. "You saved us." The report would say, missing in action for days. Then recovered. The details would be classified. Her stand reduced to lines on a page. But among the men she saved, the truth spread quietly. On Christmas night, when escape was impossible, they left her behind, and she stood alone.